Well, all right, Lions fans, it is 2024 NFL free agency season. The franchise tag just got kicked off yesterday. Tracy Walker was released yesterday, and the Lions are on the hunt. I promise you, Brad Holmes has an ace up his sleeve, but I think I got a good one for you today. As you guys know me, I'm spending the time doing all of the lower tiered guys right now. Once the combine hits and we get some more details, we're going to have some great information coming to you is shortly after the combine ends, because that's when a lot more decisions are going to be made and a lot more information is going to be known and help us decipher what exactly Brad Holmes isn't going to do, because, you know, the majority of everybody's going to be wrong. So, hey, we've got one for you. Brad Holmes, man, he's definitely looking for upgrades to this defensive back room again in 2024. What he did in the offseason prior to the 2023 season, I mean, it was no mystery. Nothing short of a very aggressive push to remedy a major deficiency, you know, in this defense. However, that plan didn't quite work, did it? Didn't come to fruition. And here we are left in 2024 again with the same problem. And quite honestly, I would say that we are worse off in 24 than we were in 2023. Excuse me there. So how will Brad Holmes make up the difference? How is he going to get this done this season so that we don't continually have problems in the defensive back room? I think it all starts with kind of what happened yesterday, right? You released Tracy Walker. You knew that he wasn't going to be part of this team. He was way overpaid. Lack of production, just didn't fit last year. Didn't really pop off the page. Wasn't utilized a whole lot. And I think it also depends on what the Lions are going to do now in free agency with what should be 5 corners and 2 safeties listed. Kendall Vildor, Emmanuel Mosley, Khalil Dorsey, Jerry Jacobs. And yes, Chase Lucas should be on this list. He is an ERFA this season. I don't know why on SpoTrack he's not listed, but he should be listed as a free agent. Unless I'm missing something, he should be. But for today's video, I am going to focus and target the corners and not the safeties at this point, and the need for upgrades, right? And we're starting with second tier level, not top tier level, because let's be real here. We need depth. Right? We need guys that ride the pine, that are ready to come in, guys that play special teams, guys that are utilized, you know, in different packages, sub packages, whether it's dime or nickel or whatever they're dialing up. So let's take a brief look here at some of the production of some of these free agents and an overall look, I guess, at how our defense, you know, played in, you know, defensive backs played in 2023. And why the depth is going to be such a critical move. So we'll start off with everybody's favorite, Jerry Jacobs. You know, he got off to a slow start and then he popped, you know, a couple interceptions, you know, back to back, played great, you know, in the first quarter of the season, it seemed like, and then disappeared. Posted an overall defensive grade of 57.1, a coverage grade of 54.5. He was best in run defense with a 73.3. Pass rush grade, 73.3. I don't know why those numbers are the same. I don't think they should be. Matter of fact, pass rush grade, 73.3. And run defense, I apologize, 70.8. 51 tackles, 3 interceptions, which, you know, again, those all came in like the first quarter, first 5-6 games of the season. But passer rating allowed, and that's the big one. That's the one that you look at to say, you know, is this guy getting it done or is he not? 107.8. And a missed tackle rate to boot, 62.2 or 16.2. Sorry. Total snaps. He played 260 run defense snaps, 479 coverage snaps. So if you were to add those up based on the Lions' total snaps on defense, it's about half. It's about half the snaps in this, for the season. So not great. There's a reason why Jerry Jacobs was on everybody's hit list last season because he played terribly throughout the season. And then his eventual replacement, Kindle Vildor. Now, granted, he did not have a ton of, game time. I think he only appeared in like 5 games, maybe 6. But his overall grade, 62.3, better than Jerry Jacobs, which was a 57.1. Coverage grade, 56.6, better than Jerry Jacobs' 54.5. And run defense grade, 83.7. I mean, that's incredible. That's a great run defense grade. Again, better than Jerry Jacobs' 70.8. And missed tackle percentage, 0. Pass rush grade, 74.9. Again, better than Jerry Jacobs. So when you look at the totality of the two players and you wonder why Brad Holmes left him in versus Jerry Jacobs, that's your answer. 0% missed tackles, better grades overall. Where he was atrocious, though, passer rating against 143.8. Now, granted, this was, 3 playoff games and a couple other games, throughout the regular season. So, what do you get? 8 games? I think he had actually not 5 or 6. I think he had 8, including postseason. So not a ton of, games in the regular season to really, affect overall grading. But 143.8, I don't care who you are. That's terrible. That does not belong anywhere close to being a starting corner in the NFL. It's got to get fixed. What I do love about this guy, though, is, the 0% missed tackle rate and in his willingness to come up in the game, in the run game and, play really well in run defense. And you're going to see a common theme here. And maybe you'll catch on here in just a moment. But Khalil Dorsey is up next. Nothing special about this guy. 4 games of action in the regular season of 2023, but he added exceptional value on special teams, but that was about it. So nothing special other than special teams. Overall grades for each category were under 60. I'm not going to go into all of them. Overall grade, 52.4. Passer rating against, 127.6. And 0% missed tackles. So great tackler. I do believe that Khalil Dorsey has an opportunity to come back as a camp body. He's going to have to earn it to win a position on this team. But I do believe he is somebody that you bring back because he's not going to be very expensive, and you need camp bodies. And you might as well bring guys back that know your defense. Emmanuel Mosley, self-explanatory here. Tore his Achilles again, this time on the other knee. Didn't really post any stats for 2023. I think it's safe to say, though, the Lions' defensive backs were pretty terrible. Just how terrible? Let's take a look at the number 1 free agent acquisition the Lions brought in 2023, Cameron Sutton. Cameron Sutton. Man, it started off promising, didn't it? I mean, everyone was excited. Guy was a dog, in the Steelers outfit. What happened? Posted an overall defensive grade of 56, coverage grade 53.9, run defense grade 68, passer rating against 113.9. So overall, he did not even have the best grades, of any of the other guys. I mean, barely doing better in passer rating against, barely. Run defense, he wasn't any better than anybody else. And, an overall grade of 56. I mean, this is your starting corner. Come on, man. Like this shouldn't even be happening right now. But that's also why I expected, and what I said was Emmanuel Mosley was supposed to be our cornerback 1. I really believe in that. We'll never know, but I really believe in that. And I think in the first game that he got in, he might have been at the CB2 spot, their left corner, but that was just to get him some game time, get his wheels underneath him. And then I think that the switch was going to happen, but we'll never know. That's all speculation. But I mean, Cam played the entire season. Pretty durable dude. He made some great plays at times, and at times he got roasted, just like everybody else. So I am not confident in this defensive back room at all. One, we don't have anybody under contract really other than Cam Sutton. You've got some futures guys or whatever that are signed, or some former practice squad guys. So what? Stephen Gilmore, great. He hasn't done anything yet. He's not proven. We don't know what he's going to do. So that's why I'm bringing in Steven Nelson. So Steven Nelson, cornerback, primarily cornerback 2, Houston Texans, free agent right now, 5'11", 197 pounds. He is a decently sized corner as far as his weight and his height. I'd say it's about average in the league, but maybe a bit undersized for what most teams are now looking for and have been looking for probably the last half a decade or so. They're looking for guys that are closer to, to 6'1", closer to the 200 pounds, rangy guys with, mid-tier speed, like 4'2", I'm sorry, 4'4", 4'5", 4'5" at the tops. You don't really need blazing fast guys. You need guys that are intelligent, guys that know where to be on the field. And when you compare his size to the guys that, are free agents, Khalil Dorsey, 5'9", 185. Kendall Vildor, 5'11", 189, almost a mirror image of Steven Nelson. And I believe Jerry Jacobs, 5'11", 203, if memory serves me correct here. But here's what I feel, guys and ladies. I feel that if Brad Holmes is going to, roll with Cam Sutton at CB1 this year, and I'm not, I'm not in that boat. I'm not sailing with Brad on that decision. If he does that, if he rolls with Cam Sutton again at CB1, it's going to be an interesting season if we don't address the pass rush. But he would at least need to go find some upgrades, right? I mean, one, like I said in the beginning, depth. You have to add depth because we don't have anybody. And someone that is a solid cornerback too, with great experience, about 8 seasons worth, and shouldn't really break the bank, is Steven Nelson. And I do believe the Lions are hunting right now for a cornerback 1 in free agency. I do believe that's the number one look on this team right now, is how can they add the presence of a cornerback that can come in and lock it down and be, a much better producer than what we saw in 2023. So even if they can't do that, though, if they don't end up locking down a top tier corner in free agency, then you've got the draft. And I do believe that there's some options for the Lions. I don't necessarily believe they all have to come in the first round. But let's be honest here. There's only about 3 guys that are considered day one game changers, day one starters that can really impact the game. And I don't know if the Lions are going to have a shot at any of them unless they move up in the draft. So if neither one of those goes their way, and you don't know what's going to happen in the draft until April, so free agency, you've got to bring in a guy like Steven Nelson. He just makes perfect sense for a few reasons. Now, the only downside is Dan Campbell, Aaron Glenn, and Brad Holmes clearly identified players last season to help stop the run. And that was the theme that I was pointing out in the beginning of this video, that every single one of these corners, great in run defense. That's why we posted some of the best run defense grades of the season, largely because our corners and our safeties stepped up in the box to make the plays. Now, all of the corners and safeties, like I said, that the Lions brought in 2023 were basically excellent in run defense. Steven Nelson, not so much. Doesn't really jump off the page in run defense grading, but he's still an upgrade that can, be had for probably less than $5.5 million per season. Oh, wait a second. They just freed up that money yesterday. Sounds like things could be shaping up for a Steven Nelson and, to come to the Lions. Maybe. There's plenty of other options out there too. But let's look at some of his stats. Look, plays 95% of the snaps last season, has been pretty much since he's been in the league, 90 to 99% of the snaps. Primarily left corner, CB2. He was playing next to Derek Stingley last season with the Houstons as the CB1. Tied for 8th last season with passes defensed with 15. 2022 and 2021, he had 8 passes defensed in each season. Oh, here's one. Former teammate Cam Sutton played together with the Pittsburgh Steelers So both of these guys, they know each other. He brings more than 8 years experience, to the Lions if he were to join this team. And he's not, crazy old or anything. Matter of fact, he was born in 93. So what, 30 years old? Just turned 31 in January. So he's not extremely old. The game hasn't passed him by. Finished 2023 with a 73.4 coverage grade, a whole 10 points more than just about anybody else on this team. Overall defense, 72.6, tackling 70.4, missed tackle rate 8.8%, very acceptable. Here's the kicker, 69.1 passer rating against. Now, do you think that all the teams were throwing at Derek Stingley? Yeah, I don't think so. So the guy knows how to play. He knows how to put his body in position. Matter of fact, love how this guy works on the field. I really do. Had a minute to watch some of his highlights. And to be honest with you, I mean, he's kind of tailor-made for this defensive scheme that we have. He's very aggressive, physical player and run support. Even though he may not post the best grades, he's very physical in that arena. Loves to limit yards after the catch. So he's very sticky. Nelson does his best work in off coverage, though. So he's not really a man press guy. And if you go back and watch some of the tape of the Lions highlights last season, I think you're going to see in primarily third downs, you're going to be in an off press position. So off coverage seems like we played that, more or less on the left side than we did on the right side. As long as he can keep everything in front of him, I think that he's going to do just fine. Again, it's his experience that we're looking for. And I'm expecting that, again, if the Lions can't go out and lock down the top tier corner, then they're going to have to bring in a guy like this, find somebody in the draft. Now you got two mentors on the team, Cam Sutton and whoever they bring in at a relatively inexpensive rate too. His strengths were posted as highly competitive, very physical and aggressive, focused and consistent when asked to jam at the line. So he's not afraid to get physical at the line. Definitely excels as a downhill player. So, sticking side by side as they're running downhill. He does display very good closing bursts and ball skills to consistently contest passes, as seen in his, records over the last few seasons. The guy's defending passes left and right, literally and figuratively. Won't give an inch when, big running backs are bearing down on him. So he's not afraid to come up with the box, and he loves to wrap up and finish as a tackler. That's why his tackling percentage, his missed tackling percentage is fairly low. So I love what the guy offers. I think that he has a big opportunity with Detroit. If the Lions were to take a second tier corner, round out the depth on this team, and make a move for bringing in some big impactful players through the draft. And look, I'm holding out hope that they go after one of these top three, like a Woozy, a Jalen Johnson. Those are my primary targets. Justin Blackman from Indianapolis. We'll be doing a video on him next. He was one of my priority picks during the trade deadline. Didn't happen. Still available. Still viable options. So look, it's NFL free agency season. It's almost like spring. You get the spring fever. It's football fever all over again, even though the season just ended. So thank you all for joining and watching this video today. Do yourself a favor. Go check out sportspider.com. That's sport, S-P-O-R-T, spider, S-P-Y-D-E-R.com. If you want to get all of your news, all of your sporting news in one place, it doesn't matter what sport it is. Sportspider.com gives that to you in an easy way to configure your news on one page. I love it. Check it out, sportspider.com. Get all your news in one place. All right, y'all, I appreciate you. You guys are the best sponsors and supporters. Do me a favor and yourself. Check your notification levels. Hit that bell so you get notified every time we go live and every time a video is dropping. And please consider subscribing to the channel. We are almost to 4,000. All right, y'all, that's it for Rock Down Detroit Lions NFL free agency.